Crypto is already moving up fast, and the Bitcoin halving on April 22nd is set to kick into overdrive. Stick around as speculative asset specialist Robert Ross shares the names of a few cryptocurrencies that you might want to consider for your portfolio. Let's get started. Today, I am here with Robert Ross, speculative asset specialist with Manward Press and founder of TikStocks. He's going to share with us some upcoming crypto news as well as a few cryptocurrencies with the best odds of making an impact in your portfolio. So stick around for those. Robert, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so Robert, as you know, we're talking about crypto today, and our viewers are really going to want to tune into this because, in short, you are saying April 22nd, 2024, just this next month here, we are set to kick off the last and maybe even the largest great bull market in crypto history. So explain this a bit more for us. Is there a specific catalyst that's causing this prediction?
There is. This isn't just some like magic date that I just like pulled out of a hat. This is something that happens about every 4 years with Bitcoin specifically. It's called the halving. And to kind of understand what that means, you need to understand like how Bitcoins are mined or how Bitcoins are created. So I'll just do a quick overview
Yeah,
here.
that'd be great.
So how that works is when a Bitcoin is mined, companies are using these giant supercomputers to solve these complex mathematical equations on the Bitcoin blockchain. And when that happens, whoever solves the problem first gets rewarded in Bitcoin. So it used to be, I want to say in 2010, you were rewarded about 90 Bitcoin. But over time, to kind of create more scarcity in the Bitcoin market, it's in the Bitcoin code that these mining rewards get halved about every 4 years. So we are on the precipice of the next halving of that. And the cool thing about it, I mean, if you just think about it from a supply and demand standpoint, when the demand for any good is rising or is constant and the supply is cut in half, that usually puts upward pressure on prices. And historically, when we see these halving events, both the year leading up to it and the year after are typically some of the best times to be in crypto and Bitcoin, especially.
Okay, now I'm just going to say here what I think many people might be thinking. Sure, crypto could skyrocket, but couldn't it just as easily collapse? I mean, what is the reward with the risk here? Everyone kind of has to make the decision for themselves, of course, but is it worth it?
Well, that's the thing, and you got to the heart of it too. Everybody's risk tolerance is different. People are different ages, they have different investing goals, and again, and risk especially. Crypto is very volatile. Every Bitcoin bull run we'll routinely see these 30%, even 50% drawdowns that we had last cycle. But I do think that it is suitable for at least a small percentage of basically everyone's portfolio. I'm not saying that you go run out and you put all of your money or even half your money into something like Dogecoin or something. But what I like to call, and I wrote about it in my 2022 book, A Beginner's Guide to High Risk, High Reward Investing, is that the goal with high risk investing generally is to take a little bit of money and try and make a lot of money.
Yep.
And with crypto, and even with the, quote unquote, lower risk or blue chip cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can still generate significant returns with not as much risk as I think people think. I think crypto gets a bad rap because of a lot of the meme coins and all that type of stuff. But there is real technology here, and there are real gains to be had, even after the big run we've already had over the last year.
Okay, so as you mentioned, the fourth halving is set to hit. You said yourself that the gains that could come from this simply do not exist in the realms of stocks, real estate, or even gold type of investments. And you also mentioned that the next bull will last for only the next 12 to 18 months, right? So how can investors profit from this exactly? I guess, let me put it this way. What is the simplest way to profit?
Well, it's honestly never been easier to buy crypto. I know everybody probably saw, especially the crypto bears in 2022, when a lot of these exchanges, FTX being the most glaring example, where people had their accounts locked because it really is a new technology. It's less so Wild West though than when I first started investing in crypto in 2017. But now you can buy, and I even did it. I've owned crypto and Bitcoin, Ethereum, for 7 years now. But you can buy Bitcoin through a BlackRock ETF now. The ticker is IBIT. I want to say that is the easiest. I was buying it in my Roth IRA a few months ago, just because I wanted to use the product myself. But
Yeah.
if you want to, buy more exotic cryptocurrencies, I personally use Coinbase. For one, they're a U.S. regulated, publicly traded company. unlike FTX, which was based in the Bahamas and was not really regulated by anybody, and we saw how that turned out. So they never had to lock customer funds during the bear market, and they've been through multiple cycles at this point. So I think the Bitcoin ETFs is definitely the easiest and safest route. But if
Okay.
you want to go to owning crypto directly, I'd say Coinbase is the best route.
All right, Robert, we talk a lot about emerging technologies like AI on this channel here, and I've seen you mention how they can play a significant role in the next crypto bull market. Can you expand on that for us?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing with AI is that it's really going to improve security, cybersecurity generally across all assets, and I don't think crypto is, immune to that either. I think crypto security generally, whether that's on securing exchanges or securing transactions, is only going to improve with the improved computing power that we're going to get from AI. But one thing I think, and this isn't necessarily good for my business, but I think that AI is going to also be very adept at personalizing investment advice, particularly in the crypto space, over the next few years, as well as these AI platforms learn your risk tolerance, they know your age. It's worse for the financial advisors out there, but I think that's going to be a major shift that we're going to see that AI is going to facilitate as well. And really, if you want to even get into the nitty gritty here, I think the security and effectiveness of smart contracts, which is, typified by Ethereum, is kind of the biggest example of that. Checking for vulnerabilities and all that kind of stuff. It's really going to improve dramatically with the adoption of these AI platforms, with crypto especially.
For sure. All right. You had mentioned also that cryptocurrencies move completely differently than stocks. So, how exactly are you going about identifying the cryptocurrencies that are most likely to skyrocket in the months ahead here? What kind of metrics do you follow with that?
Yeah, so I think the one thing that I'm really good at is getting the big picture, and this is especially true with crypto, is that you really want to understand the trajectory of Bitcoin and when Bitcoin is potentially going to peak. And there's three indicators that I use for that. The first is called net unrealized profit and loss indicator. This is free. You can look at it anywhere. A Glassnode is the one that I usually check. Typically, the way that Nupal works is the more that Bitcoin holders are in profit, the higher that percentage rises. And the flip side is true as well. But when 75% of Bitcoin holders are in profit, that has marked the top of every crypto cycle we've had since Bitcoin was invented. And it's the opposite is true too. When 0% of newly mined Bitcoins are in profit, that's usually the best time to buy. Which was not coincidentally when right at 2 weeks after the FTX collapse, it was a Nupal bottom last cycle. But Google searches right now for Bitcoin and crypto also not showing that frothiness or that euphoria that we typically see at the top of every cycle. And I know this from my own personal experience. I have 500,000 social media followers with my TikStocks brand on Instagram and TikTok. And retail still does not really care about crypto. So we're not really getting that euphoria we're seeing yet. But so we have the trajectory for Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin's peaked, but in terms of, finding altcoins to capitalize on this broader trend, I really look for specific narratives, AI being one. We'll get to some AI picks, crypto picks here in a second. And also cryptocurrencies that facilitate the scalability of more traditional cryptocurrency assets like Ethereum. I'll also look at volume relative to market cap. When we're seeing lots of retail flows and now institutional flows flowing into specific cryptocurrencies, that's when you know that there's probably a pump coming up. So you want to be able to have some exposure to that. And again, I'll look at social media sentiment every day on my own accounts and just generally as well.
Yeah. Okay, so now we know the metrics that you follow. Of course, you knew I was going to ask you this next. So, what are a few of the cryptocurrencies investors might want to look at adding to their portfolio over maybe the next couple months?
So for new cryptocurrency investors out there, I think it's paramount that you probably have at least 90% of your actual, which should probably be like 5% of your total portfolio, depending on your age and risk tolerance. 90% of that 5% should just be Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those have rallied back after every cycle to make new all-time high. Well, we're getting close, at least with Ethereum. But I think that will give you kind of dip your toe in the water. And then with that extra 10%, again, with high risk, high reward investings, we're looking to take investing strategies. We're looking to take a little bit of money and try and turn it into a lot of money. And if you want to try and do that with some of these alts, there's one in particular that kind of fits in the AI theme as well that's on my radar that I personally own as well. called Singularity Net, and it's AGIX is the ticker, and it's a decentralized marketplace for AI algorithms where anyone can go on and create, share, and monetize their own AI services at scale, which is, I think that, it rides the AI trend, but this week has
Mhm.
just been huge for many AI cryptocurrencies. But I also think it's a really interesting application of blockchain technology as it's a decentralized marketplace for AI algorithms. I mean, it's just a really cool tech, but I also think it's going to make a lot of money for the people using the platform and the ones who own it, the cryptocurrency itself.
Is there anything else that you want to leave our viewers with regarding cryptocurrencies, Robert? Anything else?
I think the one thing is that you really need to size your position. I know everything is working right now. I was telling everybody who would listen last year that they should at least have some cryptocurrency exposure. I was begging people there, and I have
Mhm.
plenty of receipts on my social media accounts and in my Substack newsletter as well saying that. But I think it's important to, remember you don't want to just, invest willy-nilly into crypto. You need to know
Mhm.
what you're buying, and you don't want to be overly exposed because this bull run is not going to last forever. We are not in a new paradigm. So you need to know not only when to get in and which cryptocurrencies to buy, but also when to get out as well. And that's one thing that I do in my Breakout Fortunes newsletter with Manward Press, which we've had a lot of success in there so far. We launched it in October 2023, right before we saw this massive run up in crypto.
Mhm.
But like I was saying earlier, I think that this run still has room to go, and we are investing accordingly.
Well, this was definitely an interesting conversation. I think it'd be fun to follow up on this with you after we see how this unfolds. But until then, where can people find you? Remind us of that again.
Yeah, so you can follow me on social media on Instagram and TikTok at TikStocks. That's TIK stocks. But you can also read me weekly on my free investing newsletter on Substack called Let's Analyze, and every week on Manward Press as well. You can find me there.
Awesome. Well, I will go ahead and get Robert's information linked down below so you can follow along with him. Thanks for joining me today, Robert.
All right, thanks so much for having me.